All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 34 of the Rankin Technical College Summer 2023 1100 C# program. All right, today is Tuesday, the 18th of July, day 34 of about, I don't know how many days we have, like 54 or something like that. All right. Today we're going to go over Muroc chapter 18 and look at some, which is on LINQ. We'll talk all about LINQ today and go over some LINQ examples. And I've given you a couple of attachments that we'll go over later, not right now. All right, tomorrow we're going to go over some of the chapter 17 and 18 LINQ stuff that was in the textbook. We'll talk all about that as we go on. Now, if for some reason you still have not turned in the homework that was due this past weekend, it was due July 16th, last Sunday. Yesterday we took the hands-on test. That was due by midnight last night. And by this Sunday, the chapter 17 and 18 written tests, lab projects, and extra exercises are due. We're going to go over all that stuff, everything that's involved, etc. All right. Now, what I plan on doing, just so you know, tomorrow, as it says, I'm going to go over some additional examples. That's true. All right. After I finish up today, I plan on going back and grading everybody's homework for chapters 12 through 16, and then starting to go through the tests that everybody took yesterday. All right. And if everybody has taken the test, I don't know, I have not looked at it, all right, etc. But then tomorrow, after I get done with the quote regular lecture unquote, I'm going to go and do the hands-on test that was due yesterday. I'll do that as a private video and send each one of you an invite. All right. Hopefully all that made sense. And if it didn't or doesn't, it will as we go on. All right. So we've now finished section 1 of our book, section 2 of our book, section 3 of our book. We've also gone over chapter 17 on how to work with file I/O. Tomorrow we will do an example of file I/O together as a class. Today we're going to go over chapter 18, how to use LINQ. There will not be a hands-on test for this. Rather, you're going to basically, what you've gotten already has been a worksheet on this, and we're going to do some of that worksheet work as a class together, starting today. If we get done everything I plan on getting done this week, then tomorrow will be the last lecture day of the week. Thursday will be a lab day for you to work on homework, for you to work on your final project, etc. Next Monday and Tuesday, we will go over chapters 19 and 20 when we'll talk about databases in general on chapter 19 and entity framework core for chapter 20. All right, so that is next week. In other words, starting Monday, the 24th. All right. And the following week, which means we're going to start Monday, the 31st, we'll go over chapters 21 and 22. All right. That'll give us, if we can stay on that, all right, and by the 3rd, there'll be no more lectures. So the week of the 7th and the week of the 14th, if we can, keep up on that schedule, you will have 8 straight days to work on both your final project and your electronic portfolio. All right. So I'm going to jump into chapter 18, how to use LINQ. All right. First of all, LINQ. LINQ is an acronym which stands for Language Integrated Query. What LINQ allows you to do is to take different things that hold information and query them or ask them questions. All right. Now, one thing I forgot out to you now, let me show you quickly because you'll get it later today. All right. And that was, come on, there you go. This. I've got a series of different LINQ tutorials and URLs, etc. All right. In fact, it's called LINQ, LINQ, LINQ links dot text. You will get that later today. All right. And we'll talk about some of this stuff. As you'd probably guess, there's quite a few in there that if you go out to learn Microsoft.com and you come in here and you search for C# LINQ, notice 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of the articles that I have referenced in here are all from Learn Microsoft, Learn Microsoft, Learn Microsoft, Learn Microsoft. So 4 of them are. In addition, you will get a PDF from me today on how to use LINQ. Now there are whole books written on LINQ, how to use LINQ, etc. All right. And we're just starting to scratch the surface of what you can do with LINQ. After we get done with the lecture here, I have no idea if we'll finish it by our break or not. I hope so. Then we're going to go and do 2 examples today of how to use LINQ. All right. And they're both console applications. All right. Probably what we'll do is tomorrow we will rewrite one of them as a GUI app. All right. But as you can see right here in this chapter, we learn the basic skills for working with LINQ. Now, it used to be that if you wanted to query something, in other words, get information out of something, that something basically would have to be a database. And if you say, I don't really know what a database is, that's what we're going to be going over starting next week. The point, though, is this. LINQ is a product that Microsoft made that allows you to query other things other than databases, things like lists that we've been working with, things like arrays, which we have worked with. You're going to see some of that stuff today. All right. So this chapter, as it says, is going to focus on probably the easiest way to use LINQ, and that is with things like arrays and lists. All right. In chapter 20, we'll learn how to use LINQ with what's called Entity Framework Core. So for right now, don't worry about that. All right. You will still, the only tests you're going to have left for the rest of this semester are going to be written tests. There'll be no hands-on tests. The last hands-on test that you just took for chapters 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 is the last hands-on test I plan on giving this semester. All right. So as you can see in here, we're going to talk about some basic concepts for working with LINQ. Then we'll go into how to code query expressions, then how to code method-based queries. And finally, we'll look at a customer invoice application using lists that allows us to go in and use LINQ with it. All right. All right. Again, LINQ is an acronym which stands for Language Integrated Query, and it allows you to query or ask different types of data sources for information. You may have heard of the term already, data mining, where a company has got boatloads of information, but they really don't know how to get to all the information they need. Think about this, for example. this just came to mind, really, and I don't know if it's a good example or not, but let's think about General Mills, all right? The cereal company. I think they are out of Battle Creek, Michigan, or at least I know they used to be. But let's suppose that they've got all sorts of sales figures over the last 20 years. And they want to know over the last 20 years, basically which of their products have held firm or gotten better as far as sales go, which of them have not held firm, have gotten worse over time. All right. And maybe they've got that information, but it's in databases or arrays or something. But virtually in the past, it would have been very difficult to go through that and get that information they needed. Well, one of the ways you can do this is with LINQ. Now, I just do want to mention that this is if you've ever done any work with databases, in particular, structured query language, we're going to talk about that next Monday. But if you've ever done any work with SQL, this is going to look very familiar to you. Not identical, but very familiar, because LINQ does most of the stuff, if not all of the stuff, that SQL does it, but it does it in a little bit different way. Syntactically, it's going to look different. And I'm going to actually show you an example of what I mean in just a little bit. All right. So it says LINQ is implemented as a set of extension methods defined by enumerable and queryable classes. We talked about enumerable and queryable, not even so much queryable, but like enumerable and IEnumerable in the past. Remember, when something is enumerable, basically, like an enum is a user-defined data type. Okay, because these methods can only be used in a query operation, they're called query operators. You can call these directly by using what's called a method-based query. When you use C# clauses, it says, to code a LINQ query, it's called a query expression. Let's take a look at one. All right, here's the keywords that we're going to work with. All right, this is not maybe a complete list, but it's fairly extensive rather. From, and that's where are you getting your information from? Where, that allows you to do filtering. So for instance, if I was going to query the salaries of everyone who works at Rankin Technical College, I might get back 300 or 400 different salaries. If I said, give me back the salaries, but only where the salary is greater than $100,000 a year, that list is going to be substantially smaller. So where allows you to provide criteria. Order by allows you to sort in either ascending order, A to Z, 1 to 10, or descending order, Z to A, 10 to 1. Okay. Select, as it says, it's going to specify the content, all right, of the returned elements. And join allows you to join two things together. Now, before we even go through the advantages in the description, let's sort of take a look at an example. So I've actually written this stuff for next week. Let's see. Try this here. So I'm going to put here SQL. In fact, let's do it like this. We'll put in LINQ because that's what we're talking about right now. And then SQL. All right. Now, when you use SQL, this means select everything from a table call department where the department name starts with P. Okay, so this would be select everything from the department table where the department name starts with P. Doesn't matter if it's upper or lowercase. This is going to be case insensitive. All right, so this would be your query. This is more the way we're going to talk about things next week. What LINQ does is it sort of, not really, but sort of turns this on its head, because when you write that in LINQ, it's going to look more like this. All right, from department where department name like P select star. So you can see it's pretty much the same statement, but the order has been reversed. So here, if you would look at this as being 1, 2, 3, then this would be 2, 3, 1. Or if you look at this as being 1, 2, 3, then this is 3, 1, 2. So we're doing the same thing. This is a database operation. It's the structured query language. It is expecting that what we are searching is a database table named department. This is a LINQ statement. So let me grab the same thing here. So with this, it doesn't have to be a department table. I'm just going to say it from a department data source. So it could be an array, it could be a linked list or a list, it could be something else. All right. But really, what LINQ allows you to do is to go in and query things like you can with SQL. But unlike SQL, you can, with LINQ, you can query things that are not databases. All right. You can still use LINQ with databases. I can't underscore for you how important it is for you to read this chapter, especially, all right. And I don't want to put, I'm going to say, especially for those of you who next semester are going to be taking the AWD 1111 class, database driven web development, because in there, we use LINQ like crazy. All right. And we use it working with databases. That's most of the semester. All right. So again, if what we're going over here now, as we go over it, if it makes no sense to you, read the chapter. I'm going to give you some resources when we get done with this chapter that I'm hoping are going to help you, including one from Microsoft, which is really kind of a godsend. All right. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So we've got from, we've got where, we've got order by, we've got select and join. And you'll notice I did not use order by in the example I gave you. I did not use join. Since I did not use order by, I have no control in which the data is going to be returned to me. Order by brings order to it. I can return things. For instance, if I say order by last name, it's going to be an ascending order based on last name. All right. I didn't use join because we have only one data source. We don't have multiple ones. So why do you want to use LINQ? Well, as they mentioned right here, here's some advantages. All right. It's made to work with Microsoft products, especially C#. It allows you to query any type of data source. All right. It makes it easier to develop applications that query data sources because, as you'll see, IntelliSense will kick in most of the time. It makes it easier for you to query different types of data sources. So in other words, you'll use the same syntax, whether you're querying an array or a linked list, or I don't know why I keep saying linked, an array or a list or a database. Finally, as it says, it makes it easier for you to use objects to work with relational data sources by using an object relational mapping framework. More on that next week. Okay. So LINQ provides a set of query operators implemented using extension methods. Those operators, some of the stuff you do with them are shown here. Now, you can go and you can look online, and there are literally scores of resources. If I go in here and I go out to Google and I put in here LINQ, LINQ, and hit enter. All right. 20,900,000 results. Now, if I put this in here, this is going to knock it down. Let's put language in. Nope, it actually pumped it up. All right, 61,300,000 hits. All right. And some of the big ones are shown here. The differences between LINQ and SQL. Is it still being used? It says no, it's not. The team are still working on improving LINQ to SQL. That's baloney. It's no longer under active development. Well, LINQ is still being used. All right, it is still being used. All right. Probably didn't do a lot to sell you on that right there, but that's okay. All right. You can work with LINQ by calling the extension methods directly or by using C# clauses. That's what we looked at above. All right. A query that calls LINQ methods is called a method-based query. A query that uses clauses is called a query expression. To use LINQ with a data source, as it says, you must implement the IEnumerable interface or something that implements the IEnumerable interface. All right. A data source like an array or an array list can also be used with LINQ. All right. If you haven't liked this so far, you're probably going to like it even less as we go on, to be honest with you here. So the next page shows what's called the 3 stages of a query operation, and it shows you what happens in each stage. So I do want to go over this, but let's look at the query first. All right. So what are we doing right here? As it says, we're defining an array. It's an array that holds 5 numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, why they do it like this, int bracket, new int, this is not necessary in here, that part, that. They could have just said int bracket numbers equal, and then in the curly braces, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. But that is creating a brand new array. That new array is called numbers. It holds 5 different integers. The statement that defines the query expression is right here. Now, we'll talk about the var in a minute. Let's look at what's in here. Again, the select is on the bottom. So what we're saying is from number in numbers. Well, what the heck is that? Well, numbers is the array. Number, so typically when you make your arrays, you pluralize them. You put an S on the end, so that when you want to iterate or work your way through an array, you can use the same name, but without the S. So rather than a pluralized form, it's a singular form. So what they're saying in there is, hey, look at every number in the numbers array. And if that number modulo 2 is equal to 0, meaning that it's divisible by 2, it's an even number, then add them to my answer, but show them in descending order. So it goes through there and it says, it starts with 0. And it says, does 0 modulo 2 equal 0? Yes, it does. So it adds 2 to that list. Is 1 modulo 2 equal to 0? No, it's not. So it skips it. Is 2 modulo 2 equal to 0? Yes, it is. So it accepts that. 3 modulo 2 equal to 0? No, it's not. So it skips it. Is 4 modulo 2 equal to 0? Yes. So it includes that. So it has 0, 2, and 4. Now it says to order those in descending order. So instead of 0, 2, and 4, it's 4, 2, and 0. So this is saying basically select every number in here that meets that criteria. And if indeed the number is selected, all right, we want to show it, but we want to put it into a list or whatever you want to call it in descending order. That's it. Boom. That's it. All right. So the code that executes the query, okay, this is saying when you after you run this, take whatever's left and put it into a variable called number list. All right. And then down here, we're displaying it. So this is a query expression. This doesn't run until we call it, which is right here for each number in number list. All right. So it's a 3-step process. First, you get or you create, however you want to say it, the source of the data that you're going to be using. And as they mention here, if, for example, the data source is an array, you must declare the array and then assign values to the array elements. Then second, you define the query. That's the query expression that's right here. Finally, third, the query, you get this. All right. Now, these again are the 3 stages. So as we mentioned, the first stage is to get the data source. The second stage is to define the query. All right. The third stage is to execute the query. Now, they do mention on the bottom of page 580 here, when you define a query and execute it separately, so if you got the 3-step process like we just looked at, it's called deferred execution, which means that we don't run the query. Even though we've already created the query, we don't run it until later. It is also possible to define a query that is immediately executed. So rather than deferred execution, these types of queries are called immediate execution queries. All right? It depends on what you're doing. And you're going to see examples of a lot of this stuff. as we go on. All right. So as they mentioned down here, the process described above is a deferred execution because the query is not executed immediately when it's defined. Rather, it's executed later. If a query is not going to be executed when it's defined, it's typically stored in a query variable. That's what this var number list is. And you'll notice it's not an int. It's not an array. It's not a list per se. It's something called var. That's going to let the system figure out the type of value that number list is going to hold. And finally, again, if the query needs to be run immediately, it's an immediate execution. Then you don't have expression in a variable like we did. All right. So next is how to code these query expressions. Now, again, in my humble opinion, at least at times, Muroc makes a lot of assumptions. Like now that you have a basic understanding of what a LINQ query is, you may or may not. But they're going to talk about the syntax for coding query expressions. Now, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this. All right. And as it says, you use this from clause. Well, let's take a look at that. Okay. From type element name in collection. The best way to learn how to use these things, the best way is to take a look, keep looking at the pages that are in here, and hopefully they will make some sense. Now, when we look up here, let's skip this stuff for right now. Let's go down to here. All right, we've got an invoice class. So each invoice has an invoice ID, a customer ID, an invoice date, a product total, a sales tax, a shipping, and an invoice total. Okay, fine. That's the class. Then we make a list of these invoices that we call invoice list. All right. And what we do here is we set up this query. This basically, for lack of better words, where it says select invoice, all right, from, this is similar to what I showed you here, because LINQ, I don't know if LINQ even uses that asterisk. All right, so this might even say department name. I don't know. All right, but the from comes first, and that's what they're getting to in here. So from each invoice that's in your list, select that particular invoice. So what that's going to do then with the code that executes it, all right, it's going to go through and for each invoice that's in this invoice list, it's going to find this invoice total right there, and it's going to add it for each invoice and put it into a variable called sum. And you'll notice sum is defined as a decimal. Invoices is not given a type because, again, when you are doing this and you're setting the execution, all right, and you have a variable like that, you virtually always are going to make that a type var. All right. Now they give you some examples in here. They may not make sense. Here's another one. You're setting up these sales totals. All right, this is not this invoice. This is a different example. So we've got this array of decimals called sales totals. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 totals in there. All right. Then we've got our LINQ statement that basically says, hey, from all those sales that are in sales totals, select sales. All right. So what is that? That's going to select all of these. Then what we're doing with that sales in sales, says for each sale in sales list, we're going to add them. So that's going to add this one plus this one plus this one plus this one, and the result is going to go into sum. All right. Again, if that doesn't make a lot of sense, then please bear with me for the rest of the explanation for this chapter. And then before we go on, because we're going to do a couple programs today, but before we do those programs, I want to take some time and go over a couple of those resources that I'm going to send you. All right. So the from clause identifies the data source. If the range variable is used in this, all right, it says you should give them the same name for clarity. So what does that mean? Well, notice that we called it in here, we called it sales. And in here, we called it, that'd be sales. That's what they're talking about. The from clause must be the first clause. In addition, the last clause must be either a select or a group clause. We're not going to talk about groups yet. All right, next is filtering, and that's using a where expression. All right, simplest way, okay, start thinking about this. It's not, but let's assume it is. And we ask for a list of all students at Rankin. Let's say that between all the campuses, there's 1,000 students. Boom, we get all of them. All right. But if we ask for all of the students where their status is freshmen, we're not going to get all the students. We're putting a filtering mechanism in to give us only the information that we want. So that's what where does. It allows you to filter the results. Now, sometimes when you filter, you're still going to get back everything. So for instance, I gave you that example earlier that said list, basically show all of the salaries for people who work at Rankin Technical College. Well, if I said, show me all the people with salaries at Rankin Technical College, let's say who make more than $10,000 a year. And let's assume that was everybody. So that's possible. So sometimes when you run a query, even when you filter, you still get everything back. Sometimes when you run a query, you get nothing back. That doesn't mean that the query was wrong. That means that nothing met your criteria. So let's say, I have absolutely no idea how much the president of Rankin makes. Let's pretend for a second he's the highest paid person at Rankin. Like I said, I'm making this up because I don't know. Let's say he makes 350 grand a year, and he's the highest paid person at Rankin. So if I did a query of all people who work at Rankin, and I asked for all people who worked at Rankin where their salary was greater than $1 million, nothing would be returned. And it's not that the query was wrong, but there was nothing that met the criteria we were looking for. All right, so let's take a look at a couple more examples here. So where, as it says, is followed by a condition. Now, if you remember, with the sales totals, let's do this. I don't want to waste my time or your time, but I'm going to do this like this anyway. And that is, there were 4 sales in here, 1286.4335 M. All right, 2433.49 M, 2893.85 and 2094.53 M. I know that's hard for you to read, so let's blow it way the hay up. All right, so there's those four totals. Okay, why am I doing that? Why did I waste our time going through that? Well, let's look. Because now what we're asking for in here is we're asking for all the ones where the sales are greater than 2,000. So this meets the criteria, this meets the criteria, this meets the criteria, this one does not meet the criteria. So as you can see here, what gets displayed are the second, third, and fourth totals. All right. But the first one, the 1286.45, is not shown because we put a where in there, which comes between the from statement and the select statement. All right. And that where did filtering. It's pretty much the same query we had before, except we now have a where in it. All right. So as it says here, the where clause lets you filter the data in a data source by specifying a condition. The condition is coded as a Boolean expression. In other words, it must be true or false. And it contains one or more relational, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, not equal to, and logical, and, or, and not operators. All right. Then next is sorting. Now, might not sound like a big thing, but again, if you have had any exposure to SQL, the structured query language, working with databases, in there, order by it's two words. In LINQ, order by is one word. All right. When you order something by, if you don't give it, for instance, in here we've got order by sales, right? You see that. It's the same one that we saw before. It's the same thing here. All right. We're still using the where, but we're telling it now to order it by sales. So this one will come first, then this one, then this one. Because when you do an order by and you don't use the word descending after this, it defaults to ascending. You can use the word ascending after that, all right? But it's superfluous. In other words, it's not necessary. So the query that we see right here, var sales list equals from sales in sales total, where sales greater than 2,000, order by sales, select sales, could also have been written as var sales list equal from sales in sales totals, where sales greater than 2,000, order by sales, ascending, select sales. All right, so here we get it in ascending order. Here's another example where we're going in descending order. So you can see the word descending has been added. So order by, as mentioned, lets you specify how the results are going to be sorted. And you can sort by more than one field. All right. Now, if you sort by more than one field, so for instance, let's say that I sorted by last name, but I had two people with the last name of Smith, and they were Bob Smith and Jenny Smith. Which one would come first? It's kind of indeterminate. We don't know. But I could sort by last name, then sort by first name. Then Bob would come before Jenny because B comes before J, type of an idea. All right. All right. selecting fields from a query. It says, so far, the queries have returned entire elements from a data source. They've returned everything. However, assume you don't want to return everything. Assume you only want to return some of what's in there. So as it mentions at the bottom of this first paragraph, a query that returns something other than a complete data source is called a projection. So let's take a look at the example that's on the next page. All right. So if you look in here, what do we have? Well, we've got a sorted list. And what does it have in there? It's got strings representing a name and decimal representing, I don't know, sales or something like that. All right. So Anderson had sales of 1286.45. Menender had 20, the same ones we had before, but we've added names to them. All right. Now that's all fine and dandy. All right. But notice in here, we're saying select sales.key. Well, these are what are known as key value pairs. The key is here, and that's the value. Key value, key value, key value. So we want to order it by the value in descending order. So in other words, that one would be first because that's the highest sales. Then that one would be second because that's the second highest sales. That one would be third because that's the third highest sales. And the fourth highest sales would be that one. All right. But what we want there after we've done that is we only want to select the key. So what should show down here, and we only want it where the sales are greater than 2,000. So we're skipping Anderson. So the order in which that should happen should be this one, which is Thompson, followed by this one, which is Menender, followed by this one, which is Wilkinson. And as you can see, that's exactly what we get. All right. So it says later, it says a query expression that creates an anonymous type from the list of invoices. Okay. The select clause indicates the data you want returned. If you don't want everything returned, you are using what's called a projection. As it says, to return two or more fields from each element, you use this object initializer. So you do it like this. All right. I think you're going to find at least that the example that we're going to go through, again, this is my opinion. Maybe I'll be wrong here. We'll see. All right. But my guess is that probably you're going to find that most of the examples that we go through in this chapter that we're going to do ourselves, at least, that we're going to do ourselves, are probably going to be easier for you to understand than some of the ones that are in the text here. All right. For instance, I don't know if we do any joins. When you do a join, you're joining two or more data sources. Now, people find that confusing. All right. Well, imagine this. Imagine that you had two different lists of stuff. Okay. Maybe you've got two different lists. You've got salesperson from, let's say that the company has two divisions, and you've got one division, and you've got all the people, the sales figures, and you've got the other division with all the sales figures, and both divisions, and you want to find people that meet a certain criteria. Maybe their sales have been greater than $1 million. Well, then you can do what's called a join. So when you are joining, the idea is that you have more than one data source and you're joining them together so that you can basically work on them as though they were a single data source. Again, I know I'm not probably putting it as well as they do in the list, or in the book rather, and you can get some really ugly stuff. So take a quick look at the example that's here. Now, if you want to join two things together, those two things that you join together must have something in common. In this case, we're joining three different tables together. All right. One table called invoice list, one table called line item list, and one table called product list. But you'll notice that the invoice list and the item list or line item list have a field in common, invoice ID. And the product table and the line item table have a field in common called product code. So as it says, once these three tables are joined, you can grab any information you want from any of the three tables. So what you're going to find is going to happen quite often is you're going to have your data spread over multiple tables, or if they're not tables, over multiple data sources. All right. And if the idea is you want to get data and use it collectively, you're going to have to combine that information together. In order to combine that information together, all right, what that is going to necessitate is that so if I've got two things, two data sources that I want to combine their information together, there must be something in common between those two data sources. And again, I kind of feel for the authors of this book when we get to this chapter, because some of this stuff, if it doesn't make a lot of sense, it's probably going to make more sense next week when we go over databases. All right. But I kind of like the fact that Muroc has decided to go through LINQ before databases. All right. Because there's certain assumptions, certain ways of doing things that people get used to when they work with databases that you end up doing at least somewhat differently with some of your LINQ stuff because you're not using databases as your data source. All right, so here we've got two different data sources. Invoices called invoice list, a list of customers called customer list. All right. So we had a customer ID here, but if you remember back, and I'm not going to find that page, but earlier when we defined that invoice class, it also had a customer ID in it. All right. What does that mean? That means that we're able right here in these first three lines that you see, this is the join that we're doing. So we're telling it to join together the invoice list and the customer list, because they both have a field that's called customer ID. So when the customer ID is the same in both, that's called an equijoin. That means you're joining on something that's equal. All right. So we want them equal, but only when the invoice total is greater than 150. All right. And then what we want to do is we want to do an order by with the customer name. All right. Then the invoice total in descending order. Customers with the same name. And as you can see, we've got Sarah Chamberlain in here twice. Then we're going to go to the invoice total in descending order. And sure enough, 259.05 is greater than 191.69. So as mentioned here, The join clause lets you combine data from two or more data sources based on matching keys. All right. As it says, the results will only include those elements that meet the criteria that you specify. And you can join on as many tables as you want to or need to join on. Database, and this is again, we'll be getting into in the future, but if you've got a database, and if you say that database has in it 8 tables, as long as you can join all of them together directly or indirectly, you can get information from all 8. We're going to look at some of that kind of stuff next week. All right. So method-based queries, as it says here, earlier in the chapter, we learned that the query operators are implemented as extension methods, and you can call them directly. All right. So as it says here, to code method-based queries, you can use LINQ extension methods. All right. And they allow you to do things that would be hard, if not impossible, to do otherwise. One thing that we're going to be doing in here, if you look at this second paragraph, right here, top of the page now, it says the table lists the extension methods used to implement common C# clauses for LINQ. These methods define one or more parameters that represent delegates that accept lambda expressions. We have used lambda expressions before. All right. For things like, it's the equal followed by the greater than sign. Now, they're going to explain here 1, 2 examples. So let's look at them first and then go back and look at Murach's explanation. So notice a couple things that are different here. The clause is where, but if you want to use the where method, it's where with a capital W and it needs parentheses. Order by as a clause, order by as a method has a capital O and a capital B. All right. Then notice there's an order by descending, and then there's a then by. All right. And a then by descending. So if you use just the then by, the second field that you put after the order by descending, this will be an ascending. If you want descending followed by descending, you do it like that. Then there's a select and a join. So who cares? Well, what we showed earlier were these deferred executions. All right. And now we want method-based where we can basically run it right away. So as they mentioned right here, C# uses extension methods saying, yeah, you know what, I even kind of read through the chapter and this makes almost no frigging sense. I get it. I think at least when we go through a couple of examples after the break, I think it'll make more sense. All right, maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out. All right, some additional LINQ methods are shown here on page 595. Now, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you see there, count, average, sum, max, and min. They're designed, they're known as aggregate functions. They return one thing. Count how, the number of elements in the results of a query. So count, how many records or how many of whatever were returned. Average basically takes the sum of something and divides it by the count. All right. Sum does just that. Max goes through a list and finds the biggest. Min goes through a list and finds the smallest. All right. First, as it says, returns the first element, the first result of a query. First or default returns the first element, or a default if no element exists. Single is expecting only one thing to be returned. So if it's expecting one thing to be returned and nothing is returned, it'll throw an exception. So in that case, you'd use a single and default. Sorry, a single or default. All right. Skip, as it says, it skips over the specified number and it returns the remaining elements. All right. Maybe I've got a list of 50 people that meet criteria. All right. And let's say that I put them into descending order. Maybe I only care about the last 5. All right. They're the ones who barely made the cut. So I could skip the first 45. Take, as it says, gets the specified number of elements from the beginning. So for instance, it's kind of like a limit operator. So if 40 things are returned and I do a take of 10, it's only going to show me the first 10. The last one is pretty important. Again, it'll be more important next semester in the AWD1100 class, and that is to list. Okay? All right, and there are examples of all of these here that may or may not make sense. I think this is going to start to be a little clearer after I go through some of the resources after the break. All right, after we go through some of the resources. All right, and after we start to go and write some of this stuff ourselves. All right, so let's continue on. So the last thing that's in the chapter, as it says there, is this customer invoice application that uses generic lists. So it says the next 2 topics present a simple application that use a query to display customer and invoice information on a form. All right. So as it says here, the figure on the next page shows the user interface. So now it doesn't look like much, but you'll notice we talked about Sarah Chamberlain before, and you notice customer Alan Anderson has only 1 invoice. Customer Jeff Anderson has only 1 invoice. Customer Randy Anderson has only 1 invoice. Customer Richard Bomaretti has 1 invoice. Customer Albert Browning has only 1 invoice, but Sarah Chamberlain has 1, 2, 3 invoices. Then we get down to Kathy De La Fuente, and she has 1, 2 invoices. All right. So what this is going to do is it's going to grab information from a customer table or entity some kind, all right, and from an invoice, and allow you to combine that information together. So as it says, it's going to use, this is called a list view. All right, and it's going to display a list of invoices for each customer. The list is sorted by invoice total in descending order. So you'll notice for Sarah, all right, 239.16 is greater than 172.88, which is greater than 64.49, etc. So that's what we're sorting on. The column headers for the control were added using the column header collection editor. All right. And I'm going to show you that tomorrow when we go back and we rewrite one of these applications. All right, to do that. So it says the code for the form. Now, the key thing, as you guess, is right here. What are we doing? Well, the first thing we're doing here is, as you can see, we've got a list of customers and a list of invoices. All right. And we're doing a join right here. We're joining the customer list with the invoice list because each one of them has a field called customer ID. We're ordering it by customer name, so it should give me the name in ascending order. And then if there are two customers with the same name, as multiple are going to be shown for that customer in descending order. And that's what we're doing in here. So basically the code that you're seeing in here is allowing us to create this. So as the author says here, the LINQ query used by this application, I'm not going to say makes it easy. I would say allows you to include data from two generic lists. Without LINQ, you'd have to code your own procedure to do this. The LINQ query, as it says, also allows you to sort results based on two fields. And it's much more difficult if you'd have to write it yourself. The code for the invoice and customer classes was shown earlier, and the invoice and customer data is stored in text files, but it could have been put any place, in a database, in binary files, somewhere, someplace else. And that's it. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just literally take 5 minutes. I'm out of water. And when we come back, I'm going to go through this, but not all of it. All right. And I've got to find this one too. So let's see. Again, everything that I go through after the break, we will repeat. Everything I go through after the break, it will be sent to you. Okay. All right, so it is 9:08. Let's come back at 9:15. In 7 minutes, we're going to quickly go over what's in here. All right, I'm going to show you a couple things, and then we're going to take a look at what your next homework is going to be. 9:15. See you then. All right, we literally will start up in a matter of seconds, but just give me a second here because I forgot to do something. Okay, all right. What you should see in front of you right here is a list of different URLs. But what I want to do is concentrate on just a couple of them. All right. The first one I'm going to bring up is this one right here. Now, again, I'm going to go through a couple of these, but I'm going to skip almost all of them and just provide the list for you. Now, this right here, Microsoft has a series of 8 videos. They're all between 5 and 10 minutes long. And really, the first 4 of these 8 start to explain LINQ. All right. Now, what I'm going to ask that you try to do is just watch the first one right here. All right. And what I'm going to give you, and I'll give you this as well, is this. I want you to go out to the following URL. So let me put the URL in there and I'll make it nice and big so that everyone can see it. All right. This is a GitHub repository. So let me put this out there. And again, I'll make it, it isn't big now. It'll be big in a minute. I think we might even be able to make this 72. All right. You know, as well as I do, you don't need the HTTPS://. So you can just put this in there. All right. And it's github.com/.net/try-samples. All right. Now, if you do this, I'm not going to ask that you don't do anything, but the key component that's in here is this file right here, this folder that says 101 LINQ samples. If you watch that 5-minute video that I asked you to take a look at, what you will notice is in that video, all right, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to bring up a DOS window. This, what I have in here isn't perfect, but what I want you to do is this. Okay, go out here to right here, just like this. All right. And after you do this, all right, go out and on your desktop, I've already done it, but I'm going to do it again. So out on your desktop, create a folder, call it whatever you want, but it should be something reminiscent of what you're going to want to do. So you know what I'm going to call mine? This is called Try Samples. I'm just going to call mine LINQ, LINQ hyphen samples. LINQ hyphen samples, just like that. All right. Then the next thing that you are asked to do in this tape, all right, is after you do that, it says go through the associated documentation. So let's look at that. All right. So this is everything, but the key thing for you is to go down after this and look here where it says basics. All right. It's a little bit confusing. All right. So what you'll have to basically do, all right, is you will have to go in and bring up a DOS window. So click here, do a CMD. I'm hoping, even though I've got it, I think I can do it again. I'm hoping it won't hurt anything. All right. So I've got this. You've done this. You could bring up a GitHub window. It doesn't matter. All right. And I shouldn't have to go anywhere special here, but I'm going to type in the command they have right here. .NET tool install -G Microsoft. In fact, let's just copy it. Now, it may give me an error telling me I've already got it installed. I don't know. But I'm going to copy that in there like that and hit enter. As it says, it's already installed. Okay, well, let's uninstall it and then I'll reinstall it. How's that? So you can see what's going to happen in here. So I'm going to uninstall this tool. You can see I've got a message that says it's already in here. Well, I'm telling it now to uninstall it. All right, so it's not in here anymore. So I'm going to run this initial command, .NET tool install -G Microsoft.NET -try, just like this. So I'm going to bring that one back up again. So here's the install, and I'm going to hit enter. It's going to sit and think about it, and it's going to do some stuff. And eventually, I believe at least, it's okay. It says you can invoke it now with the following command, .NET try. So it says it's installed it, so I can now type in here .NET try. All right, I am going to do a CD to my LINQ, a CD to my LINQ samples folder. Right there. Oh, CD to desktop, CD to LINQ samples. There it is. And now I'm going to type in, as it says there, .NET try, exactly as they show it right here. All right, and I'm going to hit enter. And it shows me a whole bunch of stuff, and it brings this up. And it says, now I'm at a browser window, okay? And it says try.net, and it says this is where I am. All right, now I'm going to go back to my documentation. Again, that's explained in this first video that's like 5 minutes long. All right, now it says what I want to do is I want to clone this repository. So I'm going to go back to GitHub. I know it's a little confusing. You only have to do it once. Where was that? That was clone this repository. This is where we want to get to in just a minute. I'm already there, so you know. All right. So I'm going to go out to GitHub. I want to stay right where I am. Oh, in this LINQ samples, there's nothing in here, but I'm going to open up a GitHub window, Git bash window. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to go out to GitHub and I'm going to go out to github.com/ I should have done a better job writing this stuff down. Sorry about that. Okay, I ran .NET try, launched the browser. It did bring this up. Let's try running .NET try again from here. So I've got this here. I'm going to shut this down. Control C. Okay, close that. All right, I'm going to just close this. So from here, I'm going to run .NET try. It should look exactly the same as it did before. I'm back up here, just like I was before over here. All right, that's good. Yes, question support. It's a little bit different than what I did it the other day. All right, so let's see. And the instructions are a little bit confusing. Otherwise, I'd be going over those with you right now. But at least I found those to be a little bit confusing. All right. All right, there it is. Okay. So you want to go out under GitHub. You want to go out to here. Oh, yes, that's it. GitHub.com.net try samples. Okay. All right. It's what I showed you before. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. Once you get out here, you want to go now and you want to click code. All right. But you don't want to click download zip. You're going to do a cloning here. Or clone the HTTPS. So the way I do it, and there's different ways, is I'm going to click this copy statement right here. All right, it says it's copied. Now I'm going to go out to my folder, okay, that's got my LINQ samples on it. I'm going to start up another, right here, I'm going to start up another git bash here. All right. And now I'm going to type in git clone, and I'm going to paste in what we just had. HTTPS : et cetera, et cetera. So that should grab that whole repository and put it in here. Put it in my folder. All right. Didn't take long. That was good. So now in here in this try samples, I have different things, including 101 samples. That's what I want. All right. Now, look at the read. The README was confusing too. This repository contains this. Install this. Clone this. Set the current directory. Run .NET try. All right. So now I'm going to come in here. I've got .NET try running right here. I'm going to stop it, clear, and run it again. That's what I wanted. All right. This is all the stuff that's in here. And the one that you care about is this 101 LINQ samples. I think it'll, okay, good. Okay. So exploring LINQ, what's so great about this is there are literally 101 examples. So if you take it from the top, you're not going to have enough time to go through all this, and I get it. But if I go to select clause and I click on it, okay, it shows me an example of how to use this. So it says this example uses select to produce a sequence of digits one higher than those in the array. So this should be one higher than each one of these. How do I know if it works? You can click here and it shows you the run. Well, I thought it showed you the run at least. Why it wouldn't, right? But there's select a single property. I don't know why that's coming up in red. It worked just fine when I did it the other day. But so what do we want to do here? Okay. All right. What do we want to do? Let's write our own steps here. I started writing them before, but they're all screwed up. So we'll make it step 0. So step 0, create a folder called LINQ samples on your desktop. Okay, that's 1. All right. Step 1, do a CD to LINQ samples. All right. Okay. Step 2, go out to the following URL right there. Step 3. On GitHub, select clone. And it should say something like that it was copied or whatever. Step 4. Go back to your LINQ samples folder, this command. All right, git clone, and then it'll be this. All right. So do the git clone, and that should give you everything in that folder. Now I'm going to try something, and this may be why it didn't work. I don't know. Okay. Okay, so I'm in try samples, CD to try samples, and LS. So we've got this 101 LINQ samples. So I'm going to do a CD to 101 LINQ samples. Now I'm going to do a .NET try. All right. So it says, okay. Now it says if you loaded this page from .NET try, click here to start the sample. So I'm going to click there. All right, same kind of stuff you saw before. There's the select, etc. Now when I click on here and I go to run this, why are you not giving me the flaming? Oh, it's the same way I did it the other day. Well, if you put this in, if you start running some queries, you're going to get answers in here. Why I'm getting this instead of answers, I don't know. All right, but I've given you the steps now. Right, and I'll give you this at the end of the day. All right, so that's the first thing. Again, I'm sorry if I sound very confused. I'm not. I got, but watching their tape on this was actually a bit confusing. Okay, this thing. These people are fine enough, and the other stuff that's in here goes through some good examples, but I had to do a little bit of finagling around myself. All right, so that's the first thing. Then next, let's go back to here, close this, and bring this back up. Okay, this is where you want to eventually get to, is in here to work on this. Now, let's talk about a few other things. I found this. And I started going through it. Again, you will have the URL for this. It's a LINQ tutorial. It's got about 40 or 50 lessons in it. And again, if you come back to me and say, I don't have time to go through all this, they're in here and they're shown here. And it's all free. So why am I taking the time? There's 66 lessons to show you these. You're going to be using LINQ a lot in your final project. And if you get stuck on something, this is one of the places that you can go look for more information. Here is an article from codeproject.com, beginning LINQ article. Here's some Learn Microsoft's, 4 of them here. All right. Here's another one with the basic LINQ operations. This was very good. I actually did go through most of this. I think I show you on Tutorials Teacher. learn this. So notice there's over here, there are 14 lessons. And then over here, they go through the operators. I thought this was very well done. All right. This ebook, I've got it. It's 48 pages, 43 pages, and you'll get that by the end of the day today. I've went through it a little bit. It's not bad. It's not great. Finally, there's this. Now, this I've already got up on the system. Tutorials Point is a very neat site. They've got a lot of good stuff about almost everything. Now, they've got a LINQ tutorial in here. If you want the PDF version, all right, it is 10 bucks. No, I don't want you to buy that. What I did was I went through everything that was in here, all the stuff that was in here, pulled it all out and put it into a Word document, turned it into my own PDF, but I can't find it right now. If I find it, all right, I'll send that to you. Okay, I'm not going to spend 10 bucks and I wouldn't want you to either. All right, so those are just some of the millions of resources on LINQ. All right, so with that said, let's take a look at the two handouts that I sent to you today. Okay, so here is the first one. Let's see. Rename this. There it is. All right, this is going to be, for lack of better words, this right here is going to be the equivalent of your test on chapters 17 and 18. Now, the good news is we're going to do the first two of these as a class. All right. In fact, we're going to do number 1 and number 2 today. Then tomorrow, we're going to go back and we're going to redo number 1 as a GUI app. It won't be to begin with, but we're going to go back and redo it as a GUI app. All right. And that'll be 50 points. So if you just basically follow along, you'll have 50 points. Then this last one, I'm going to ask you to try this on your own. All right. Now, if we go back and look in our text, or what comes with a Muroc text, all right, and if we go back here, we are going to probably do 4-3 here as a class. We're not going to do this 4-2 because it's another one with conversions. We've done all that already. All right. And we're not going to do 4-1 with more student scores. I don't want to do that. So if we do anything here for the extra exercises, and I'd like to, it'll be 4-3. Display incidents by technician. And you'll notice, okay, that'll be it. Just these 2 pages. All right. And then that's under the projects. For our extra exercises, we are going to do 17-1. Work with a text file. We're going to do that one together. We're not going to do 17-2, but we're going to do probably at least 18-1, use LINQ, and that'll be it. All right. So I'll go over this with you again. Please don't worry about it right now. But what I want us to concentrate on for right now, for the next hour or so, might be more, might be less. All right. But what I want us to concentrate on is this one right here. Create a searchable music library. Create a song class that holds a name, an artist, and a genre. Create a list of songs. Now it says provide a user interface, and that's what we're going to do tomorrow. All right. And then use the where LINQ method to perform these searches. So, natural question. All right. First question I'd ask at least is, okay, I understand what we're doing. I get all that. Makes sense to me. But can you tell me why? All right. Can you tell me why with this thing? Why are we doing this where we are doing this as a console app? And the answer is I want us to concentrate on LINQ, not on the GUI with LINQ, but just on LINQ. All right. Give me a second here. So I am going to create a folder right now that I'm going to just call CH17-18. In that folder, I am going to put in this one right here, LB01, but I'm going to call it LB01 console. And then later I'm going to do LB02 console. You will do LB03, but yours will be a GUI. This one you'll do on your own. And it'll take some work. It'll take some thinking, etc. Then tomorrow in this same folder, I am going to do 4.3, and I'm going to do 17.1, and I'm going to do 18.1. So in other words, you will have 5 problems for this Sunday. All right. You will have 17.1 and 18.1 from the extra exercises. You will have 4.3 from the projects. We'll do all of those together. So that's 3 of 3. I guess you'll have 6. All right. You'll have this song search, an employee search, and a student grades. So we will do 5 of the 6 together. All right. So I'm going to come in here to start with, and I'm going to create a brand new folder. And I'm going to call it CH17-18. All right. Now, I'm going to repeat this. I am not going to put this in a GitHub repository for you. This is work I want you to do. All right. So let's come in here and let's start. So I'm going to start up Visual Studio. And this will be a console application. So I'm choosing console app, all right, .NET framework. And I'm going to call this, what did they say to call it? To be consistent here, LB01. So let's do that. LB01 song search console. LB01 song search console. All right, for the solution name, I'm just going to put it into chapters 17 and 18. All right, and in as far as where I keep it, where I store it, etc., on my desktop, CH1718. Now I realize that's a little bit hard to see. I can't make it bigger. All right, so let's do this. Yes, I sort of can make it bigger. So that's what I put in there. My project name is LB01 Song Search Console. The location is in a folder I just made called CH17-18, and the name of the solution will be chapters 17 and 18. All right. I don't want to save that. So I'm going to click create. You already know this. I've got my console app up right now. Okay, nothing really extraordinary in there. Okay, now I don't know which of these of any I might need, but I am going to put a using in here that's used as using static system dot console. So what if my write lines and stuff, I won't have to say console.writeLine or system.console.writeLine. Now, the other thing I'm going to do in here, in fact, I don't even have to do that, is I have saved a mini comment that I put in here. There it is. So what does this say? This says I am creating a searchable music library. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to create a song class. That song class is going to be pretty flippin' simple. It'll have 3 fields in it: a string for the song title, a string for the song artist, a string for the song genre. And I'll do a public override on toString where I'm just going to list all of them. That's it. Then I'm going to take what I gave you. I sent you this list of song objects today, so you wouldn't have to do it yourselves. All right. Tomorrow we'll add this part. We'll redo the same program, but with an interface. All right. But I want to concentrate on this today where we're using LINQ. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do in here is I'm going to come in and I'm going to create a class library. So I'm going to add a new project. It'll be a class library. And I'm going to call this songs library. All right. And click next. And make sure that your .NET standard is 2.0 there. Click create. And there it is. I don't need this class 1, so I'm going to get rid of it. Okay, so that's gone. But in my songs library, I'm going to immediately come in here and I'm going to add a new class. So I can either choose new item in class or just class. And I'm going to call this song.cs. And here's my song class. Remember, the first thing we always do is we change this. All right, and we change this from internal to public. Okay. And now it's going to be pretty simple. All right. And I'm going to do this as simply as possible. I'm not going to have any kind of a, well, I'm going to just have a no-arg constructor, but let's start with public string song title. And we'll put in here our get set, public string song artist with a get set, and public string song genre with a get set. Those are all of my variables. All right. So in other words, these are my properties. They're my instance variables, whatever you want to think about them. All right. We don't really even need this, but I'm going to put in here public, and I'm going to say song. All right. So we'll have a no-arg constructor in here. Just like that. Finally, I'm going to override the toString method. Remember, we get toString by default. We get that in our system. So this is everything here. Again, I don't think I need any of this. So there, that's everything. That's the whole flipping thing. And I'm going to make this smaller. I want you to be able to see all of it. I don't know why this has gotten so light. I didn't think I changed my mode or anything in here, but it's a little washed out looking. But I'm going to put in here public override toString or string to string. All right. And yeah, I want to return, but I don't want to return base.toString. I'm going to just basically put in everything that you just saw. So song title plus that song, oops, song title plus a \n plus song artist plus song artist plus \n. Finally, song genre. And I will put a plus and a \n in here too. All right, because after I put in each one of these, I want there to be a blank line between them. Okay, that's it. That's my whole class. Make it a little smaller so you can see everything. And I realize that's a little small, but okay. My no-arc constructor, which should set song title to the empty string, which should set song artist to the empty string, which should set song genre to the empty string. And then I've overridden the actual two-string method. Okay, that literally, that is everything. That is everything that's in the class. All right, that's the first one I'm going to do. So file, save all, and I can close that for now. Now I'm going to add another class in here. All right, I'm going to add another class in my song library. I'm going to right mouse click. All right, and I'm going to click add, and again choose class, and I'm going to call this song manager. One word, capital S in song, capital M in manager. Song manager. I'm again going to make this public. All right. And now I'm going to add that file that I sent, the text file I sent you before, in just a minute. So we've got public class song manager. And in here, I'm going to have a var called, oops, try that again. A var, well, that's fine. We'll fix it in a second. Song list, and it's going to be equal to a new list of type song. Okay, don't worry about this. We're going to fix all of it right now. Let's put the word var in there. All right, so it doesn't like that. Why doesn't it like it? It says, oh, I know why it's doing that. Okay, let's remove this. Let's first say public static list song, and we'll call this load data. This is going to be the routine that we are going to use. I want to say this again. This is going to be the routine that we are going to use, all right, to load in our data. So I'm going to say here, var song list equal new list of type song. Okay, now I could come in here and manually key in all these, but I must have given you, what is it, 12, about 75 songs. All right, so I'm going to go back here to my email that I sent out this morning. All right, which had this in it. Yeah, let's see, preview file, there it is. All right, and down at the bottom are all these songs. So I'm going to grab all these. Okay, and I'm going to copy them to the clipboard. And just to show you, if I do put these into Notepad++, they all do line up. All right, so there's the title, the artist, the genre. They're all nice and pretty. All right, So let me come back into my program, and now I'm going to paste that in right here. I don't need this line. I'm going to paste this in. Okay. Now I've just added 75 songs. And the last thing that I want to do when I'm all done is I want to return my song list. I should have no errors in here. All right, everything should be cool. I wonder if I come in here and do this. Let's see. Tools, options. I'll have to look during the break and see how I change this back to making it darker. But what do I have in here? This is, I can make it small and you can see it, but that's not going to help you much. I have just created in here a new class that's called Song Manager. In here, I created a song list. It was originally empty, but then I added about 75 new songs to it. Each new song has a song title. It has a song artist, and it has a song genre. Well, artist, title, and genre. That should sound familiar to you. Title, artist, and genre. All right. So now I've got my class library set up. And the good news is, at least my hope is, I'm going to be able to use this song library both for Lab 1 Song Search Console and when I build it tomorrow for Lab 1 Song Search GUI. I'll be able to use the same library for both. All right. So let's go back to our program in here and let's start writing some code. All right. Now, I tried to keep this pretty simple. You may or may not agree as we go on. I don't know. All right. And I also tried to run it. You're going to see how, sounds kind of corny, but how delightfully small main is going to be. Main is going to be about 10 lines long. It's going to call some other routines that are going to do everything for us. All right. So in here, before we have main, I created four global constants. All right. So the first one will be if we don't put anything in. So in other words, if we're asked, if we say in here, what genre do you want? You leave it blank. We want it to come back up and say no value input for search criteria. Okay. Say that song and see if it's in my database. And I put in Howdy Doody, and I don't have a song in there called Howdy Doody. What should come back and print out then is no song title matching the search criteria. And I want to have 3 of these. I'm going to have no song title. I'm going to have no song artist. And finally, I'm going to have no song genre. right? So this will say no value input for search criteria. This will say no song title matching the criteria. This will say no artist matching the criteria. And this will say no genre matching the criteria. All right. And if you don't get it, just bear with me. We're going to set up a real simplistic menu that we're going to let the user do different things. And we're going to write different, we are going to write different LINQ queries based on what they ask for. All right. I also had one global variable, one. All right. And don't worry, we'll fix those errors in just a minute. So we don't want this. We want this to just say song. Now you'll notice I'm getting errors right now. We have not established a connection yet between our class library and our program. So let's establish that. Come over here, I'm going to click, and I want the add reference to songs library. I put that in, and it added the using songs library at the top. All right. And I have no errors. Also, if you notice up here, we've got using system.link. This has been one of those things that in the past, whenever we've had that in here, we just removed it because we haven't used it. Now we're going to use it. All right. So let's start by putting in main. And like I said, it's nice and short. So int option, and I'm not going to give it a value, but I'm going to give it a comment here that says menu option 1 through 7. All right. Bool. And I'm going to call this one run again. And I'm going to set it equal to true. And this is my program continue variable. So after every time when I run an instance of this and I tell the system to go through this song library that's in here and check for stuff, when it gets done, it'll say, hey, do you want to do another one? And if I say yes, it'll run it again. All right. So while run again, option equals, these are going to be routines we haven't written yet. Show menu, it's going to give me an error because we haven't written it yet. Call correct LINQ function. I'm going to pass in that option. And finally, run again equals another function we're going to write called another time. Now we haven't written any of these three yet, which is why we're getting the errors. So let's comment these two lines out. And right below this, let's put in our show menu, which really isn't that long either. All right. Since we're working directly with main, it has to be static. It'll be an int. It's going to return 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. All right. And it's going to take that, it's going to put that into option. So static int show menu. You'll notice that error is gone, but we have a new one here. All right. And we're going to put in here int, and I'm just going to call it option chosen. All right. And I'm going to set it equal to 0 to begin with. And then at the bottom, I'm going to return option chosen. But I could do it if I wanted to. All right. There are no errors currently in my program. That's good. All right, now we're going to write a very crude looking little menu. All right, but before we do, all right, we're going to put a string in here. In fact, let's do this. We'll call this option chosen int, and I'm going to call option chosen str, and I'm going to set it equal to the empty string. Now, what am I doing here? I mean, what the heck is this? What are you even talking about here, Jeff? This is going to be what the user enters. And we're going to tell them to enter a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. All right, we're going to tell them to enter a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. Okay. Now, when they enter, let's say they put in a 3. It's not the number 3, it's the string 3. We're going to convert that over then. But we're only going to convert it if we run a try parse on it and it succeeds. So we only want to do it if it's a number. Remember this? Okay. And to be whatever here, let's come in and let's actually put in some comments. So this will be the user entered option. This will be the integer, just put int, equivalent of option. And this will be the return value. And it'll be true if we put in a number and we can convert it, and it'll be false otherwise. All right. So let's do a string here. We've always called this output str for our output string, but you know what? We're writing a menu, so let's call it menu str, and it'll be equal to please choose one of the following options, \n. And now we're just going to keep adding to it. Enter a 1 to show all songs by title ascending. Make this a little bigger. Order. Enter a 2 to show all songs by, sorry, I'm so squirrely here, artist ascending order. I can't spell it all, can I? All right, so a 1 will show every song shown by title in ascending order. 2 will be show all, and the genre in ascending order. All right. And finally, just say, enter a 7 to exit the program now. All right. Please enter a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 now. All right, now I might be putting myself into an infinite loop, but I should at least be able to run this now and see if I get it. So let's try that. So file, save all, we'll run this. And there's what we just wrote. Okay, doesn't even look bad the way it's set up, but I think no matter what I put, it's just going to ask me to do it again. That's okay. All right, it works so far, and that's good. All right, so we've got that. Now we're not ready to return yet because again, remember, you already know this, that if I run this again and I leave it blank, I'm going to, well, it just said to do it again. But what if I put it, hello? Well, right now, it's just having me do it again. All right, but I don't want that. That's a little bit confusing. So I'm going to come in here. So this is, let's say here, build menu string. And then this will be display menu string. Let user enter option. All right, so we've got all that done. Now we want to say result equal int 32 dot try parse. What do we want to parse? All right, well, we want to parse that option chosen str we just put in there. And where do we want to put it? Into option chosen int. Isn't that what we called it? Option chosen int. But it has to be put in there, remember, with the word out. So we are attempting to convert whatever we entered. If we can't enter it, so if not result, remember, we are in a console app. All right, we are in a console app. So in other words, there's no message box to show. So we're just going to put it right here and put a right line, I guess, that says what was that? You must enter a number, hit any key to continue. In fact, I'm going to make that a right, not a right line, so this stays on the same line. And then I'm going to say read line. And guess what? You screwed up. I gave you an error. I'm just going to call this routine again. I'm going to call show menu again. All right. And in fact, before we do this every time, where it says, please enter this, why don't we put a clear here? Now it should be. So if I do this and I put in something non-numeric, you must enter and continue, and it asks me to do it again. That ain't bad. All right, so that's all working. Let's put a couple blank lines there. I think it'll look a little nicer. All right, now what if we get down to here? So this is what? If result is false, non-numeric, or no or nothing input. If we get down to here, we know there was a number inputted, but what if it was less than 7 or it was greater than 1? What does this do right now? I don't even know. Let's run this and let's put in 9. Now it didn't really do anything, it just cleared, and that's fine, but it didn't give us a message letting us know we did something wrong. So I'm going to say here, else if option chosen int is less than 0 or option chosen int is greater, I don't want to say greater than song count, all right, or if it's greater than 7. Why 7? Because we have 7 options. Now I could have done work and come in here and created, counters or whatever. It's fine the way it is. I'm going to steal this. And I'm going to call show menu again. All right. Now I'm going to go down and return this. So now if I run it again, you've already seen this. If I put nothing in here, you must enter a number, hit any key to continue. Boom, it's handled. If I put there, again, you must enter a number, hit any key to continue. Boom. If I put something less than 1 in or greater than 7, oops, something's wrong there. So let's fix that. It didn't find my read line. If option chosen int is less than 0 or option chosen int is greater than 7, result is so this is out of range number input. I don't know why that wouldn't show that, but let's save it and try it again. So 55. You must enter a number from 1 to 7. Hit any key to continue. All right. 0. Okay, 0 for some reason it's just, so let's try 8. Huh. Oh, it should have been if it's less than 1. There we go. That's why you should run it. Keep checking it along the way. All right. So now I have built a very crude looking little menu, and I made sure that whatever we enter is an integer, and I made sure it's between 1 and 7. If it's not, we're just calling the routine again. We're giving them an error message, and we're calling the routine again. All right. So now I've got a value. So now I can call the correct LINQ function and pass that option in. So let's write that one now. Down here. Again, it'll be static. It'll be a void. Call correct LINQ function. We're passing in an int. which has got the option in it. There. All right. Now remember, there's 6 things we want to do. Show all songs by title ascending, show all songs by artist ascending, show all songs by genre ascending, show song list by title, show song list by artist, show song list by genre. So that's what I'm going to put in here. What do I mean? I'm going to do a switch based on that option that they passed in. Now, I'm going to have to comment some stuff out because I'm going to call 6 different routines in here, and I haven't written any of them yet. So case 1, I want to show song list by title and break. Okay. In fact, let's grab this. And we use that for 1, for 2, and for 3. So this will be show song list by artist ascending, and this will be show song list by genre ascending. Now, none of them have been written yet, so let's just comment these 2 out. Okay, so we've got those, and we're going to put in 3 more. And finally, we'll put a break in here, a default break. Okay, now these will be our case 4, case 5, and case 6. Okay, and we're going to again comment these out, but this one will be show song list by title criteria. This one will be show song list by artist. Did that, but by artist criteria. And this last one will be show song list by genre criteria. And again, I'm taking all but the first one and I'm commenting them out. All right. That's it for this routine. But now I've got to write each one of these routines. The good news is they'll all be pretty small. So you know, they'll all be pretty small. All right, so let's write the first one. And they're all going to be static void, every one of them. So let's come down here and here, static void. All right, and let's put in the first 3. So this will be by artist, and this will be by genre. All right, now I can uncomment 2 and 3 here. All right, I'll keep the other ones I'll do later, but that's these. Okay, so what do I want to do? Well, I'm going to first clear. So I'm starting with a clean to say var title. I'm writing LINQ. Title ascending equal. All right. From S in songs. Order by S dot song title. And I don't need the word ascending in there, but I'm putting it in anywhere. Anyway, select S. And actually, the other ones are going to be real similar. So let's fix those. This one will be but not song title. This will be by song artist. And this one, what did I just do? Try that again. This one will be by artist. And this one will be by genre. All right. Now, I'm not done. I'm half done, more than half done. And let's run it now and see what happens when we do run it. Do I have any errors? Always a good idea to check those first. No. That means I have no compile time errors. If I screwed something up, I could possibly get a runtime error. So file save all. Let's run it. All right. Now I'm going to put in a 1, and that should show us every song by title, and those titles should be in ascending order. And it didn't. All right, there's something with the clears that are in there, I'm sure, that did that. So let me grab that clear that we had up here. I think this is the one that's screwing it up, but we'll find out. 1. Oh, that isn't the one. Well, 2, 3. All that's doing is clearing the screen. So let's grab that clear that we commented out. Right there. And let's grab maybe these. I had a clear on my ones that I was using, but let's see if that's the problem. No, something in here is causing this to jump like that. So let's play computer. Okay, it's coming in here. It's doing the clear, setting up the menu. Am I calling this? Yes, I am. And it's immediately calling run again. So it's immediately just showing the menu. Let's do this. Let's put in a read line after we have these. Oh, you know what? I'm never telling these to show. I'm doing it, but I'm never telling them to show. So let's do this. Right line. Here is the song list in ascending order by song title. For each var s in title ascending, that should be in, not on. All right, so for each one of those, right line S. Now let me grab this. This should be working now. And here it is in ascending order by song artist. And this should be artist ascending, which means that so should this. And finally down here, if I put that in again, try that again. And grab all that. So this should be genre ascending. All right, let's see now if it works. Somehow I lost a curly. There we go. So file, save all. All right, now our 1, 2, and 3 should be working now. 1. Whoa, it did, but there needs to be a read line down at the bottom, I believe, of each one of these. So let's put a read line here. Because it was scrolling right off the screen. So let's look. A boy, a day, all. All right, so where I have my here is the song list, I do want to put a clear before that. So this clear I do want in there. And a clear there. All right, let's try it again. So 1, there it is in order by title. You can see A, B, B, C, D, F, H, etc. It appears to be working. All right, now I don't have my run again thing set up yet, but I'll have that in a minute. So let's run it again and put a 2 in. Now this should be by artist. So the order's different. So A for Adele, Air Supply, America, Beatles. There's a few Beatles in here. A lot of Beatles. Bee Gees, Beyonce, Bread. So they're in there. It should be Baby I'm gonna Want You, not Baby I'm gonna Want You, but that's never doesn't really matter. Run it one more time and do a 3. And let's see if our genres are working. All right. So classic goes into then country. And from there it goes into pop, then into rock, then into rock and roll, then into soft rock. It appears like all 3 of those are now working. All right. So we've got to write the last 3. Then we'll go back and we'll look at everything that's in here. Everything that's here that's gray, I don't think I need. So that's now gone. So I've got my options 1, 2, and 3 working. I don't have 4, 5, and 6 working yet. All right. And those are the ones where I'm putting in criteria. They'll be a little longer. Not a lot, but a little bit. So let's grab this one. Let's undo this. I'll get an error because it hasn't been written. But I'm going to write it right down below the last one that I just did here. Okay, in fact, I can do all 3 of these and then comment them out, or uncomment, I should say. So that should be by artist, and that should be by genre. All right, and now I can uncomment these here, and here. And again, just checking, I have no errors. So that's good. So let's do the first one. All right. In fact, let's put a blank space between each one of these. There we go. All right. So again, I'm going to clear right away. And we're going to allow for a check for either a full title or a partial title, either one. Well, you may or may not remember, parens there, but we had a constant that we called nothing inputted. So that'll write that out. All right, so now we should be able to come in here and do this. If I do a 4 and put nothing in there, well, it cleared out right away, but if I need it, I should do a read line then. Let's try it one more time. No value input for search criteria. Okay, so that's working. So if I get down to here, all right, I'll put an else in here. Then there was something entered. Now there may not be a match, but something was entered. So there was input. So now, nothing new here. We've done this contains thing before. And notice what I'm doing is I'm making both of them uppercase so I can do a case insensitive comparison here. I'm not done. All right. If there was nothing matching the criteria, all right, so really if there's nothing in there, I'm not going to be doing anything, but I'm going to come in here now and say, right line, song, titles, matching, inputted, search, criteria. And we'll do another for each loop. Var, let's call it ST for song titles, in ST. That should be it. All right, we're going to try it. Or I don't know what I can, is there more than one with love in it? No. I still need that read line in there. I think I took it out. All out of love. How deep is your love? I love rock and roll. I want to know what love is, and a whole lot of love. And I can now do another one. Let's put in something that doesn't exist. You already saw this. If I leave it empty, no value input. If I run it again, I put in my name. There are no song titles that match that criteria. I think we can do this for each read. Let's see, right line. Yeah. What if we try this? I didn't do this on the example, but if I say if st equal null, right line, no matches. I have to fix that st or s, no matches. Else, we'll do the for each. No, it doesn't look like it likes this. Let's see. What are we writing? We're writing here st. There's got to be a way to check for null. Let's try it like this. The if and the else. All right, which means I'll have to get rid of that. And we'll have to move this over. There's probably a better way of doing it than this, but I'm going to try it like this. If st equal null, right line, and I want to say that no song title matching search criteria. All right. I think this will work. Let's try that. So if I come in here now, put in a 4, and I'm going to put in Jeff. No, didn't like that either. Well, I'll have to look at that. All right, right now what it's doing, I'm pretty close, but right now what it's actually doing is there's nothing showing if nothing meets the criteria. So if I put in here a 4 and I put in hello, I'll make sure it doesn't match. It just the song title is matching and it doesn't show anything. All right. Okay. So what's left? Well, the other two are going to be very similar. So the artist and the genre are going to be very similar. So I'm going to copy this. and then just make the associated changes. So okay. All right, so I now should be able to search by artist. So number 5, if there's nothing in there, no value inputted, right? Enter an artist to search for. I know I've got some with Garth Brooks, and there they are. If I try to search for somebody who's not in there, I again get nothing. All right, so let's put the last one in there then. And that'll be, again, this one will be by genre. All right, let's see if that works. All right, there's soft rock. Should be rock and roll and one rock also. Rock and rock and roll. So that's all working. So everything that's in here is working right now. The only thing I have to do is ask the user if they want to run the program again with that another time. That was commented out much earlier in here. Then I'm going to go through the whole program. This is going to return a bool. It's going to be true if I want to run the program again, and false if I do not. Run again was set up as a bool. That's good. And it has nothing passed into it. Okay. All right. All right. All right, that's everything for all 320 lines worth. Let's run it. Okay. Down at the bottom now, it should say, do you want to run the program again? And if I say yes, good, it starts all over. And if I say no, I'm done. All right. So taking this from the top, this was a song search program. We created a searchable musical library, which I'll show you in a minute. We created a song class that held a name, an artist, and a genre. Let's look at that first. So I made a library, class library, and I put a song in it, and a song class, and a song manager class. The song class had in it this. It had the properties, which are song title, song artist, and song genre. You'll notice they all have all these many references. Why? Because these are all my songs, and there are about 79 or 80 of them, or whatever. All right. So each song has a title, it has an artist, and it has a genre. I made a simple noir constructor, which does nothing. All right. And then in here, the two-string method. This is what's printing out when you saw all that stuff in there at the end. All right, so that's my song class. That's pretty darn simple. So file, save all, and then close that one. This song manager, I'd have to clean this up, but this is what I sent you this morning. It looks like this. You put it in this editor, it's formatted very nicely. But it has, like I said, it has 75 artists in there. Each artist has a title, or each song, I should say, in there has a title, an artist, and a genre. This is just me sitting there screwing around one day. All right, putting this stuff in. So there those are. So in this class here that's called Song Manager, what I created in there was a public list. All right. And that list is basically going to hold this load data. It's going to hold a function, this function. And this function does three things. First, it creates a new empty list of, a new empty song list. Then it populates that with 75 songs. Then it returns that song list. So that is that. And then the program itself, and again, what I mentioned earlier is I'm doing it like this. We will rewrite this one tomorrow, and we will rewrite it using a GUI interface. All right. The reason I'm doing it like this now, though, is I want us to concentrate not on the GUI interface, but just on LINQ. So I showed you the library of songs. I showed you the song class and the list. Now, provide a user interface, we'll add that tomorrow. There is no interface now, but I did use where queries in here. So we had 4 different, and these I have to figure out how to fix that. All right, but I will. And that's if nothing's inputted. There is if nothing was found with a search criteria. No title was found, so I put in some goofy title or some goofy artist or some goofy genre. One global variable, and that was my list of songs called songs. And I set it up by calling this, that load data. So that now held those 75 songs. Main was quite simple. It has option, which is going to be my menu option right here. And it asks if I want to run the program again. So I initialized run program again to true. So it's going to call show menu. Based on the option that's returned, it's going to call the correct LINQ function. Then when it gets done, it's going to ask me if I want to run it again. My show menu, again, is fairly simple. If I make it small enough, I can put it all. I'll have to make it real small, so I won't. But here it is. All right. What we read in is what's called option chosen str. That's the string we read in. All right. That's what that is. Option chosen int is when we attempt to convert what we read in into an integer. And result is going to be, we're going to do a try parse. That's going to hold the result. This clear every time, just make sure that I'm clearing the screen whenever possible. All right, so I build a very simple menu interface right here. It says enter a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, or a 7. And you can see the associated things that go along with them. Then I write that out on the screen, and I set option chosen str to whatever the user enters. Then I attempt to parse that. This is going to succeed or it's going to fail. If it succeeds, it's going to parse that, whatever I put into that value, into this value. If it fails, I'm just going to put up a message that says you must enter a number, enter any key to continue. Then I check to see if his input, if I get the error. Also notice I say I give an error message, but I call the same function again. So you're going to be stuck in here if you put in nothing, or you put in something non-numeric, or you put in a value less than 1, or you put in a value greater than 7. So eventually you will put in something that's okay, and we'll return that. When we return that, we will call the correct LINQ function based on that. And that's a switch statement. Says if I entered a 1, we're going to call show song list by title ascending. A 2, show song list by title, by artist ascending. A 3, show song list by genre ascending. A 4, show song list by title criteria. A 5, show song list by artist criteria. And a 6, show song list by genre criteria. Anything else will just break out. And then in here, and I guess I asked for where, but I didn't really put that where in there. So these are very simple LINQ statements. It starts with from. This is a variable I'm creating right now on the fly called S. Songs is my list of songs that we created up here. So I'm telling it to go through this, and I'm telling it to select each song and put them in a list and order them in ascending order. This is redundant. I don't need the word ascending in there. I just put it in there just to show you that. If I wanted to give another option for descending, I could have changed that one. All right. Then we just write everything out. And we do a reline so it doesn't fly off the page. Then we do a similar thing, another from with an order by and a select, but this one is done for the artist. So the first one, the names you put in here are up to you. That was title ascending. This way, and look, notice that we're going through titles. This is artist ascending, and we're going through artist. And this is genre ascending, and we're going through genre. That's the first 3. And for the last 3, again, they're a little bit more complex. We again clear the screen, and we set up a local variable called title, and that says enter a song title to search for, and it can be a full title or a partial title. I mean, if I put the letter A in there, it's probably going to find almost every one of them. Okay, but I could do that. Then we check, and if there was nothing, message up from above. Otherwise, there was something put in there. There's our where. So for song titles, we're saying go through our list of songs, order them in ascending order by song title, but only the ones where the song title, and we put that into uppercase, contains what we just keyed in there into the title in uppercase. So this is either going to have one or more matches or no matches. Then we write this out. All right. Now there has to be something in here. I've got to go through and look at that later, that when you run a LINQ query and nothing is returned. So then if that's the case, then I want to print out this. No song title found. Then we do the same thing for artist. And again, that'll be no song artist found. And finally, we do the same thing for genre. And again, that'll be no song genre found. So there's a lot of code in here, but hopefully it makes at least some sense. At G for genre. You don't have to work fine without that. But let's see. And I used an A for artist, and I should have used like a T for title. Make that a T. Now, are there ways that this program could be improved? I'm sure there are. All right. But that's the first one. So yeah, I'm asking you to try to write that one. And if you want to take a screenshot, that's fine. I'll just show you this. There's the first. Move this over. All right. So there's all the global variables and the global constants right there. There is main right there. There is the beginning of our show menu down to here. This is going to basically figure out if we put nothing in the menu, or depending on if we put in a number that was less than 1 or greater than 7. We did put in a valid number. This is going to call the associated LINQ function to either show the song list by title ascending, show the song list by artist ascending, show the song list by genre ascending, show the song list by title with criteria, show the song list by artist with criteria, or show the song list by genre with criteria. And then each one of those, we just did a, you know, for by the title ascending, it's pretty simple. The ones that were the hardest, again, were the last 4, I should say, because those, each one of those, they're all written the same way. All right. The only thing is, instead of artist, we've got title, or instead of artist, we've got genre. And there they all are. All right. Finally, I came through and at the very end added this another time, which will allow us to run the program again. All right. Now I'm going through these with you. You might have to go back and watch this on the tape maybe a few times to get it to work. All right. And I'm doing this to try to help you, because otherwise what I'd be doing would just be assigning this to you. Boom. Not going through it or anything really. All right. So I'm going to write one more and try to get this done as close to 12 o'clock as I can. All right, because at 12 o'clock it starts a new tape, and I really don't want that. All right. So we're going to do this employee search. So let me close this and close this and close this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I am going to create another library. So I'm going to right mouse click on my solution. I'm going to add a new project. It'll be another class library. And I'm going to call this employee library. Make sure your framework is set to .NET Standard 2.0. Okay, I don't need this class that they make, so I'm going to get rid of it. So that's gone. I'm going to come into my employee library and I'm going to add an employee class. Which I'm going to call employee. All right, remember the first thing we always do is make this public. All right, and for each employee, they're all strings. And I'm going to copy this in about 7 times and then make changes. So we've got a first name, we've got a last name, we've got a social security number, we've got an address, we've got a city, we've got a state, and we've got a zip code. All right, so those are all of those are our properties. All right. We're going to have a no-arg constructor. I'll just say public employee, paren, curly, curly. That's that. And then we're going to override our two-string method. All right, I'm going to steal that from the song library because it's going to be similar. All right, so these are all wrong, but we'll fix them all right now. A little ugly, but hopefully it all makes sense. So here's my employee class. Each employee has a first name, has a last name, has a social security number, has an address, has a city, has a state, has a zip code. So there's our properties. We put in a no-R constructor, and I overrode the two-string method. Okay, so file, save all on there. Now, like we did before, I'm going to make an employee manager class, like the song manager class we had before. Let me close my song library. And under employee library, I'm going to add another class, and it'll be called employee manager. Again, we will make this public. Do this exactly like I did the other one. All right. Now, again, just like we did before, I'm going to go and grab the code that I gave you this morning that I sent out to all of you. And that's up here. These are the 20 employees. So it will not be formatted nicely because I'm using a different editor. But it's not too bad looking at it there. It doesn't look bad at all. So there that is. So there's my 20 employees. And then finally at the bottom, I want to return my employee list. So let's double check and make sure I have no errors right now. It's not showing any. That's good. So here is my employee list. This is what I'm using to load up for my program. These will be the 20 different employees that I want to be able to look at, or whatever you want to say about them. Okay. All right. So I've got an employee class and I've got an employee manager class. All right. So those are both done. So let's go to, let's see, we haven't made a new solution yet. We've got a class for it, but no solution. So I'm sorry, no project for it. So I'm going to right mouse click, add, new project. All right. And I'm going to, just like before, I'm going to use console app.NET framework. All right. And I'm going to call this LB02 employee search console. Create, and there that is. Okay. Now, there's going to be a lot of similarities between this program and the one we wrote previously. Just so you know, there's going to be a lot of similarities between the two. All right. I probably could even copy that one in. I don't want to do that because I'm copying code in, ripping it apart, copying it in, and I don't want to do that. All right. So again, those will be my messages if we don't find anything. All right. We will have, just like before, we will have one global variable. And again, just like before, you see that the reason I'm getting errors in here is, as of right now, this program right here Lab 02 Employee Search Console doesn't know about the employee library. So we have to match it up, and I'll click here and I'll grab the bottom thing that should come up in here is, come on, add reference to employee library. That added this line right here. And now notice I have no errors there. Now it doesn't like something here. Let's see if we can figure that out. Static list of employees. Well, let's go back and look at our employee manager. See if I made a mistake in there, which is always possible. Static list employee data. List of employee. That looks correct to me. Let's not add. Turn implicit. I don't want to get hung up on this because I want to be done with this by 12. So let's see, did this give me a way to fix this? Show potential fixes. And there are none. I'm wondering if it's because all this stuff that I put in here this should be public. Still didn't fix that though. Oh, I'm trying to figure out what I did wrong there. And it says cannot convert. It's saying there's a compatibility between this and what I tried setting up in the other file. Not sure what that error is. And I mean, I want to go on, but I'll have to figure out that error because we can't run the program the way that it is. So, all right, let's, you'll see how similar this is to the other program now. So int. Just like before, which I haven't written show menu yet. I haven't written call correct LINQ function yet. And I haven't written another time yet. Just like we did these before. All right, but we'll do that in just a second. So let me comment these two out. Let me just, no. All right, so let's go and write these. So we don't have a show menu. So let's get it in there right now. And this time we're going to have 9 options. But to try to expedite matters a little bit, I'm going to go back and open up the previous program, the song search program. Now I'm looking at this. Look, it's got this thing right here, this employee.cs. I don't want that. I don't know how that even got in there. That removed the error that we had. Okay, good. That was what the error was. I don't know how that got in there, but I did. I put it in there, but accidentally. So for the song search, I'm going to just start grabbing some of that code out of here. So I'm going to grab the whole show menu and just make changes to it. All right, that's fine. We'll fix that right away. We need at the top of our program to, of course, put in our using static system.console. Don't think I'll need these two, so I get rid of those. All right. All right, now, please choose one of the following. Enter a 1. This will be to show all employees. By last name, ascending order. This will be all employees by address, ascending order. 3 will be by city. Ascending order. 4 will be state. Five will be zip code. All right. And then we'll have 3 of these. All right, so 6 will be to show all employees meeting last name criteria. City criteria. And name, address, and city. That should be address. All right, so please enter a 1 through 9 now. Get that, read that. You must enter a number. Yep, if it's that or greater than 9. All right, let's see so far with what we've got if it works. It's basically the same as the show menu for the last one, just I've changed the name of the options and added a couple more options. Oh, it's still running the old program, so let me change that. All right, so last name ascending, address ascending, city, state, zip ascending, last name with criteria, address with criteria, etc. Okay, none of these have been written yet, and that's totally fine. It did attempted to parse. If we put in something non-numeric, let's put in a read line here. See if it's catching those. So if we put in nothing, you must enter a number. If we put in something out of range, you must enter a number from 1 to 9. Okay, well, that's working. All right. So now we want to call the correct function. Which hasn't been written yet. So we'll write that right now. And that option will be an integer. We will switch on that option. We'll have 9 cases. Actually, we'll have 8. With this exit the program now, I guess I didn't even put that in there last time. So, but we can put that in if you want. It's no biggie one way or the other. So what do we have? Last name, address, city, state. So okay. City, state, and zip code. Okay. This is what I'm going to do, just so you know. I'm going to go over this entire program. But when we reach in about 20 minutes, we will reach noon and the tape stops after 4 hours and it has to restart. So at about 5 minutes to, I'll go until then. But at 5 minutes to, I'm going to take a 10-minute break and I'm going to basically let this reset and start to produce the one I'm doing now. Then I'll come back and finish. All right. Just so everybody's aware of that. Now, if I did this one right, I can now list my employees by last name in ascending order. And if I have two employees with the same last name, then the one with the smaller first name should go first. So let's see if that worked. Do I have any errors? No. That's a good start. There are it's 75 records, so. All right, there's a clear in there that's screwing things up. That clear shouldn't be. That read line should be there. I think for right now, this is screwing it up, but let's see. Nope, that's not it. Same problem I had when I did this earlier. This is all going to flush its way out when I get everything else done. Just you have to take my word for it, but I'm going to copy. Let's see. Oh, I'm not calling it right now. There you go. That would probably help, wouldn't it? One. There's my employees. Now, are they in order by last name? Adams, Black, Brown, Bryant, Kramer, Crane, Doe, Freed. Do I have two of the same last name? Maybe I was too dumb to do that. Here we go. Mike James comes before Sven James. Okay, so all of that's working. Okay, I've got all of my information in for my 20 employees. Okay, so let's do this one. This is show employee by address in ascending order. Let's see if that one works. So 123 Forest Way, 123 Main Street, 145 Forest Way, 1800. It's doing a numerical sort, so 1800 comes before 19. And that's okay. That's fine. So that one's done. Let's do the by city ascending. See, I'm making very minor changes in here to each one of these to get this to work. Okay. So O'Fallon, followed by St. Charles, followed by St. Peter's. That's good. All right. The next one is by state, which is stupid in this example because I made everybody from Missouri. But to be consistent, I'm going to write it anyway. Hey, I don't know what order this will actually put it in because everything is the same state, but it's okay. So 4. It's in some order. I'm not sure why, but it's all in MO. So zip code. Oh, what did I do here? City, zip code. I did city again. I don't know why. Must have put it in there twice. Oh, okay. That one should have been state. Okay. Last name, address, city. Yep, I got rid of the state. Okay. And what's left? Our criteria. So we want by last name, and we want by address, and we want by city. Okay. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to go over to the song library and grab one of those. Okay. I'll get some errors, but I'll figure them out right now. Let's see if this works. I think I had two people with the last name of James. That's not what I want. 6. Yep, that works. Okay, I notice there's an error here. That should say 7. That should say 8. All right. Okay, let's see if that one works. Oops, that was wrong. So I want 7. That's not right. Okay, that's screwed up. So let's see. 7 to show matching address, 8 matching city. Okay. 7 matching address. Last name. My address, clear address. That should say address. Okay. So anybody with a 1 in their address? Most of them did. 1, 1, 1, etc. Yep, that works. Let's quickly do the last one, and then I'm taking a break. We're going to come back and spend quite a few minutes talking about all of these. All right, now I should be able to search for it as soon as I fix that error. If I say ST, they should give me St. Charles, and it should give me St. Peter's. St. Peter's and Charles. Okay, so that's working. All right, I'm going to very quickly just pull in that exit program from the other program. That should let me run the program again. And let's do that exit program or not. And it's going to be real simple. It's just going to be application dot. It doesn't like it like that. I'll just say this dot. Okay, it doesn't like that either. How about close? I'll figure out what it is in just a second. All right, it is 11:57. I'm coming back at 12:15, and I'll spend till approximately 1 o'clock going over both of these two programs that I've done. Okay, so I'll see you in about 18 minutes. Thanks.